Click this button. Maybe.
And what are we talking about tonight? Let me read that. New testimony. Oh.
You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city. You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. UPRNTalkRadio.com.
Looking for something new and
this sucks, man. See, this is the difference between a real computer and not.
Mercury retrograde coming into effect again.
Looking for something new in sci-fi or fantasy? Check out what Brandon Sanderson, Orson Scott Card, Nnedi Okorafor, and others chose as the best news stories of the year in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology from 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
Welcome to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo.
God, we actually got through that. That's amazing, people. Yeah. Well, I'm on a laptop.
That's a cool song. I need to get my own theme song too. That was pretty cool. I hadn't heard that before.
See, y'all can see. This is part of my living room. Yes, nice, pretty magnolia picture over there. Yes. That's one of my front windows. For anybody asks, that's just whatever. No pictures on this wall at all. I said, son of a bitch, what's that? Oh wait, there is a picture. Oh, there's a big monster fires literally up there. There's pictures all over my wife has. We have these are big. In case I know it's hard to tell scale on the computer. These are big, as big as this window behind me at least. And
is that because of the Who song "Pictures of Lily"?
Yes, and
different context in the song, but
different context. Well, it started out. We were welcome everyone to UFO Undercover. Sorry, and we're going to get into some serious stuff here in a few minutes. We were out shopping. When we first got this place up here on the coast, we didn't have nothing in it, and all we had furniture in the condo in New Orleans, but we didn't have anything here. And so we started looking, and we were in this shop looking for just anything really. And if we ran across any artwork, I said, "Well, we'll pick it up." And I was walking past this row of furniture and shelving and shit and dust everywhere, and I bumped into something. When I did, I seen this little glimmer of green to the right of me. So I went and pulled out. So I pulled out this picture. This picture's like, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, "This is a really nice picture."
Yeah.
Signature looked familiar, sort of. I was like, So I said, "Look, dude, it's pretty dusty and all." So I asked my wife, I said, "What do you think?" She loved it, and so I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Oh, give me 45, and it's yours." I'm like, "Really?" This freaking canvas is worth 45. So like, no problem. So I took it home, found out what it was worth. It was worth a little bit more than 45, ladies and gentlemen, which was a nice purchase. But because of the size of it, it kind of themed the rest of the pictures in the house, or in this area of the house. And we do have 12-foot ceilings, so you can get away with putting big pictures on the wall. If you had a little 8-foot ceiling, you couldn't do that. It would look funny.
Yeah, be like a mural.
It's up. The top of some of these pictures are up almost 8 feet, so it just looks different. Yeah, so people, y'all get to see my living room. I know y'all. Wait, what? Oh, Donnie, hold on, real quick. I gotta do this. See, there you go. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah,
that's the floor we put in. My son and I put it in not too long ago.
Is that vinyl?
That's apple wood.
It's actual wood. Oh, nice. Apple wood is cool.
So it's so we did the labor, so it wasn't that the labor didn't kill us, but the wood itself was expensive. Well, actually, there's a hardwood floor under this, and this floor in the kitchen there wasn't, but in this one there was. And it's not real friendly to water, but other than that, it's a really, really, really nice floor. And it looks really good in a house. It really can up a value of a house. But remember, I know because we're going to get to what we're going to talk about tonight. Remember this, guys and girls. When you're going to update your house and you want to make it better, you can paint your living room. You can put in new floors. Hey, Neil, you can do all sorts of shit. The only really things that are going to really bring up the value of the house, well, you can always do an addition. That'll bring it up. But kitchens, bathrooms will raise the value of house and can raise the value of house considerably if you do the right thing. Yes. Well, no, because painting's a dangerous thing anyway if you're going to sell a house. You really want your paint in the house to be a kind of a neutral color because people like to come in and put their canvases, their little paint things up against paint blotches up against the walls and see, how it's going to look. If they're black walls or green walls or yellow walls, it's going to be hard to judge. But on a white wall, you can kind of tell. Oh, people, I make homes ready for sale all the time. It's one of the things I do. And it's all that makes a difference. But kitchens. So to put you all in perspective, I actually put applewood in my kitchen, which was crazy. It's beautiful. And then I put all new Samsungs. So Samsung came out with this black touchless stainless steel, but it's not actually black. It's this grayish, bluish.
I think they call it slate.
It's really, really pretty. It's hard to get your freaking fingers on it. And the only thing I found better was Samsung and another company came out with this. It's almost like a cobalt blue. It's a beautiful color, but you can't even get all your appliances in it yet. So this one was hard enough to get your appliances in. And I just like it. It stands out. It pops. It goes really good with my floors. And then I put a oyster backsplash in my kitchen. So it's people. It looks nice. What can I tell you? I'm a contractor.
Yeah, the other one you're talking about, I think is GE, but Samsung has the bespoke refrigerator freezer, side by side with two doors that French doors. But there's four glass panels you can choose the color. You can come in white, stainless steel, purple.
Oh yeah.
All these different. Or you can make it look like the Partridge Family bus, whatever. But they're glass, so if you break, you can pay another.
I got the big monster French door one, but it's a big one, and it comes with the ice maker and all the wonderful stuff. I liked it. I got it because it had crushed ice. That's not the only reason I got it. It's big. I mean, I could get inside and put somebody in front of me inside. It's big, and we need it because living on the coast, you just need it. We have another Frigidaire downstairs that we used to have up here, black one. We because you need to stock up on stuff here. When you live in the Gulf Coast, it's best to stock up. I'm just saying. If you live up here, you should stock up. Dean, yes, we're going to talk about aliens and UFOs. Can we talk about your speaking with what? Oh, no, that's all classified. I'm sorry, man. They may shoot you if I tell you this. Yes.
The fridge in my kitchen is small. If I have a small or actually really large dorm fridge down there to sub.
Hello, Jay. You've been probed by extraterrestrials. See, I don't know if it's him or me because I'm on a laptop too. You back?
Up again?
I don't know. You could have been me there. That's the thing. I don't know because we're both on.
I froze up again. That happens a lot.
Yes, we're gonna get you a booster. I might have one somewhere. I'm gonna look around in the house in the studio and see if I got one. Well, no, you can't see it from here, but my studio is way down the hallway. So we put my studio way down the hallway because it's a big room. But currently right now there used to be 14 computers in there running 24/7. Right now there's 8 running. 2 will be coming down this week though, as the 2 new ones will be up taking their place. And then another one will be coming down because these new ones I got are just beastified. They can do, one of them can do like 5 or 6 of the other computers we're doing. So with single core. I have nothing single core. I didn't have a single core computer. I couldn't even tell you. And I'm not anti-single core because a lot of people could. So before we get into UFOs, if you're just a person that needs a computer, a 4 gigahertz single core with 8 or 16 gigs of RAM in it is plenty enough to run anything that you want to do. If you're doing stuff like I am, it's different. Or if you're playing a lot of gaming, it's different. But if you just want to surf and have fun and use your computer for what it's meant for, yeah, you don't have to have it. If you got a 4 core, that's plenty for the average person. 6 cores are way more than Joe Schmo is going to ever use in his lifetime. What do I run?
That's like business grade.
I have a 12 core, 16 core, 2 8 cores, and 2 6 cores. And then we have the whatchamacallit servers, which are actually 2 cores, by the way. We have 2 of them that run, what the hell is it called? Winamp. They are Winamp servers. They're dedicated Winamp. No, you don't need that much power for the Winamp servers. No, you don't really. I mean, but that's what I'm saying. So don't go out and spend, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, $3,000 on a computer unless you're a professional using it for something serious like gaming or for something for work related. But if you're just surfing, no, man, 4 cores is more. You'll never know. You'll be, especially if you got a good internet. And today with gigabyte internet connection, shit, you can get away with a 1 core with a gigabyte connection.
Yeah, I think what I'm on is a single core. It's just Intel Pentium.
Yes,
old as hell, but it works.
And that's all I got to do. All I got to do is start up and go. Well, you can't see, but this one's actually okay. This is just a Google computer. It cost about $300 when I got it in my hands. This here is an Inspiration Dell 8-core laptop with 16 gigs of RAM in it. Outrageously expensive. I think it was like $3,000. I didn't buy it. It was given to us. Somebody donated to the network. And you see which one I'm using. It's the Google computer. It's easy. It doesn't take up a lot of power.
What they call it, a Chromebook?
Yeah, it's a Chromebook. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's an Acer, so I guess it's the same thing now. Yeah, it's an Acer Chromebook. That's what it is. And get this. I had to get it because the one behind it I had in LA with me when I first went out. The first year I went out to Writers of the Future, or the second year I went out to Writers of the Future, and I had forgot the power supply at the house. So I called Dell and I called a couple of suppliers online, and they said it would take 5 to 7 days. So I needed it like that day. So I went across the street, went to Target of all places, walked in, and boom, it was there. It was on sale for like $279. I said, give me the damn thing. And it's working great. It's a great little, just for surfing, it's a great little thing. It works. And for doing this, it's a good little, it's a good little all around, hunk of junk.
As long as I don't open too many windows, my screen doesn't freeze up.
Yeah. Well, this one, you can open a lot of stuff on it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah. I have no idea what's in it. People's probably like some Windows 0.6 something gigahertz, 2 gig. I don't know. It's nothing fancy. I've never looked. It's done its job. It's only supposed to be for me if like I'm sitting in bed surfing, or if I happen to be somewhere and I need 2 laptops, because sometimes when we're doing interviews, like in LA and other places, we'll have two systems set up so I can either be involved or monitor one or the other. It makes it easy. It's not hard. Yeah. Anyway, so I know everybody's been waiting to talk about these congressional hearings. I rewatched them today on the way to work, or I should say listened to them on the way to work today. I listened to them again on the way home today. So I went back and listened to one of the earlier ones from before this Charis, and I forgot the other guy's name, Grave, and listened to those. First off, I'm not impressed with any of them. It's not, and don't take this the wrong way, people think this is a good thing because it needs to get into the public. So, you know, it's hard to down on what they're doing, but first, they're not even asking the right questions to the right people. This is just more of the UFO splash for whatever reason. You know, and I said this just recently to someone pretty high up, and I said this just recently to some other people, and I've said this online, I've said this on television shows, and I've said this to Steve Messette. You will never get to the truth chasing lights in the sky. And wait, because these guys said they've captured them. Okay, but they still don't have the truth. Again, you'll never get to the truth chasing lights in the sky. You either have to talk to the ETs or talk to the people the ETs are talking to. But that's the only place you're going to get truth. You're not going to get it anywhere else. So listening to Congress do all this hanky-panky stuff is fun, but nothing's going to change. Nothing did from the first 2 meetings. Nothing at all changed. So now we've got 2 Navy pilots, and we've got a guy from Secret Services, 14-year veteran spy. I just right off the bat, that rings me. Sorry, guys. It's I don't know what it is, but right off the bat, it's something about this guy, this Charis guy, that just rubs me the wrong way.
Dave Crush.
Yes, I hear him say a lot of stuff, but I don't really hear him say anything. I mean, he's most of the stuff when anything good, he always says, "Oh well, we get behind closed doors, behind closed doors, behind closed doors." And look, I understand that. If I was to give testimony to Congress, I'd want it to be behind closed doors. What is that, Gene? You can go to UFO Paranormal Radio or Gods, UFOs, and Extraterrestrials, and you can join the chat that way, or you can jump on one of the Facebook pages. Well, I will take questions out of my messenger, but it's harder here because I'm on the laptop. It's not like when I'm on the big 30-inch screen or big 40-inch screen when I'm using one of the big.
Plus, you have 6 other computers to look at and have.
Yeah, so it's not quite the same as I am here. What do you mean? No, okay. I really can't get into this a lot, but I've already turned down doing in public anything. It's it's to me, you know, a lot of people ask me, I don't know why, you know, you run the largest UFO organization in the world, you should be up there, blah, 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 blah. And I understand that. But why? Half the stuff I would tell them they're not going to believe anyway. They're going to be like, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? No, I mean, and then the ones who do, which is, it's just going to make them ask more questions, but hopefully it's the right questions, because I heard Greer the other day was telling them to ask questions about dimensional stuff. Why? Obviously, we don't know how to use dimensional stuff. We haven't backward engineered a craft to use it dimensionally. So Greer. So I listened to him the other day talking about the questions the supposable questions he gave to Congress, and I listened to him. So there's no doubt that Greer and Goreshkai have talked a few times. No ifs, ands, or buts. They've talked a few times. Just the thing when they were talking about the dimensional stuff, there's no doubt that these two guys have talked a few times and are actually pushing some type of agenda. I don't know what it is, but they're actually pushing some type of agenda. Well, for you mean for Greer's? I don't know. What has Greer actually given to the field? Everybody's like, he did disclosure. What disclosure? The disclosure hasn't happened. It still hasn't happened even with Congress. So again, what has he done? Other than make money off people, I don't know what he's done. I'm just saying, check him out. Check out what it costs to go have a spiritual retreat with him. I'm just telling you, people. Or what was it when he offered us? We were in many times he's told us or other radio networks or TV networks $5 to 10 grand to do an interview, whatever. We ain't got nothing worth 5 to 10 grand to tell anybody. That's the problem. I mean, I've heard him speak many times, and he's like a lot of the other ufologists. He talks a good talk, but he doesn't really give us anything. It's like, so recently the 70 alien thing was brought up to me, you know, about 70 different types of aliens. So my question was to the person who actually asked me the question, so is there proof for 70 different types of aliens? Currently, right now, we can probably find proof for, I don't know, 7 or 8 types of aliens. I mean, proof where there's been multiple sightings by multiple witnesses multiple times. Okay. So you say you saw an alien, or so here you are, you're somebody like that's working for Greer. Oh, there was 56 types of aliens. Now, see, it's going from 56 to 70, by the way. The original disclosure project, it was 56 types of aliens. Now, of course, it's 70 types of aliens. Okay. First off, name them. Secondly, show me some pictures of them. Show me some information that suggests that. Show me 300, 400, 500 different types of craft that would suggest that there are 70 different types of aliens visiting us. Yeah, it could be a Stargate, I guess. Anything's possible. But are all 70 types of the aliens using it? Or do we even allow that many aliens on our planet? Would we allow that many aliens on our planet? For that matter, would the Greys allow that many aliens on our planet?
Yeah, and there's a couple other resources out there, especially the first time I heard about that many species was it's in Star Trek, which is fictional, but it's also predictional. So a lot of people think Hollywood is part of the debunking thing, but they said there's 70 some aliens, and there's like 120 different solar systems that are controlled by these aliens in a group called a federation or confederation, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people think that that's true, and that may be. We don't know. However, the last that I've heard from, it was John Lear, and I don't remember when the interview was, but he said basically we have anywhere upwards of 4 to 5 alien species visiting at one time. And some of the alien books out there, there's a Russian version, there's an American version of Alien Guides, and they suggest that the aliens are at least around that 60 to 80 different species. And most of them have visited the planet at least once or twice, and some never have come back, and some come back occasionally, but that there was really 5 to 6, maybe at the most, groups constantly visiting. So that's my take on it.
Well, you see that if that's the case, and then you have to have a galactic policeman, because I would imagine if there's a federation, they're just not going to let people just come hang out on the planet without being watched. And since everybody agrees that the Greys were pretty much redesigned by the light being to be probably the second most powerful being in the damn cosmos, I guess they would make great policemen. Because it's funny, when you go back in time and you look for the Greys, you don't find the Greys right away. You find the reptilians and humans all over the place. The human type aliens are everywhere, just like the reptilians are everywhere. I mean, you have the Dogon and the Sumerian. So you have the Dogon saying about the reptilian Nemos who went to Samaria and raped and pillaged the women, and those women that were born had different types of children, and those children became self-aware, becoming us. So before that, I guess they were just a slave race of some sort. But the problem here is, people, is you do have the Sumerian text and the Dogon text, or whatever. Well, I don't know. There was a lot of native type. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Some people say the Egyptians are 5,000 years old. Some people say they're 10,000 years old. Well, we do know the Sphinx has water damage, which suggests it was built about 10,000 years ago. It was lush and green. So knowing that suggests that Egypt's much older than we thought. And then they found out something recent about the Egyptians too. They call it the Zero Dynasty, because technically Samaria was the first written language.
Allegedly, and somewhere around 5600 BCE.
Yeah, so which is what, about 6,500 years ago. It's but recently they found what they call the Zero Dynasty from Egypt, which is supposedly older than the Sumerians. So I don't know people. I listen to these things. You can only keep up on so much stuff at one time. You know, your brain's only so big. But and these go back and forth a lot. But even so, even if Egypt started 10,000 years ago, which, you know, from some of the things built there, now that we see the water damage on them, we do know at least some things that are present in today's Egypt were built 10,000 years ago because of the water damage. And scientists, they used to argue about this all the time, was there water damage or not? But pretty much not anymore. There's been at least a dozen and more scientists go look themselves now. Some of the guys who were very skeptical aren't so skeptical anymore. And so we do know that the Nile Valley was very lush 10,000 years ago.
Yeah,
so
different scene altogether.
So the Sphinx, at least, and some of the other artifacts in some of the cities were built at 10,000 years ago. That doesn't surprise me because we've recently found 2 cities sunk off the coast of India that date around 15,000 years ago. So our civilization is getting pushed backwards more and more and more. Carl, what do you mean? Why is it a big fight? Because Christians say there's only 6,000 years of history.
Yeah.
And some of the other religions, like Muslims, bought into that. But now we know that's not true. We know that there was humans living on this planet beyond it. So if you've got advanced cities at 15,000 years, well, when I mean advanced, I'm talking like Cairo and stuff like that, at least that advanced or more, or like the Greek or Roman cities, at least that advanced or more that were 15,000 years ago off the coast of India. Who the hell were they?
Yeah, the oldest race, or at least genome I know on the planet, is the Jomon or Homon people, and they're in ancient Japan and northern Korea, and they are prehistory going into historical times. So there's parts about them we don't know. However, they went from 12,000 BCE ish to about 4,000 CE. So they spanned a long time. And they influenced, and we know for a fact from the Human Genome Project that their genes have been spread throughout the Pacific Rim, across Canada, America, North America, South America, Central America, all across Polynesia. And they found that the Native Americans, the Native Indian tribes here, are closer to Asian and Japanese than they are to European or Spanish.
Let's say that's the whole thing. A lot of stuff that we think these days is just, we've been wrong about so much. So, you know, they want to jump on this alien thing, and they're like, well, we need to do it like this. Well, no.
Do you know Philip Coppens, or did you know Philip Coppens?
No, I don't think so.
He was a frequent presenter on the very early seasons of Ancient Aliens, and I have one of his last books. He talks about that in a book called History is Wrong, that how bad that they teach us all these things that we find later on are 100% the opposite way. You know, it's just, so many things are wrong in history.
Well, it is. Well, I was watching Neil in there, who's asking about who's doing these secret cleanings on the rovers. It is funny that from time to time NASA will show the solar panels on the rovers completely covered in dust and losing electricity. And then all of a sudden they're all shiny and clean. Well, we do know a couple of times that they've tried to drive them into those little dust devils to try to clean them. So we've seen NASA do that before, but there's a couple of times, and I hate to get with the conspiracy people on this, but there was a couple of times when they showed it, it looked like somebody went out there with some Windex. I mean, it was sparkling. I mean, it was clean, like somebody had just shined it up. And even the chrome around the edges was shining, which means I can't see a dirt devil doing that.
Well, yeah, obviously you can't colonize Mars without having a Simonized car wash nearby, so it's got to be logical.
You know, I was watching Elon's Mars thing today. The man is just brilliant. Or the people who work for him are brilliant. Somebody over there is brilliant. So they're showing, you know, they were landing 2 of the rockets again today. I love when they land 2 at a time. It makes the Russians, the Chinese, and even the Americans so mad they want to just spit, man. This guy, this guy's from South Africa. He's a nobody. Didn't even have any money. All of a sudden, he's out here doing things that the top space programs in the world combined can't do. It's just, and so he showed this, ladies and gentlemen. So he launches this thing into space. He's already, by the way, sent one to Mars. It's been over there sitting and doing whatever, and they got a crew doing their fuel. So they send one up, and then they send 2 up at the same time, and then the other one joins it and is used to carry extra fuel and extra stuff about half the trip. And then it comes back to Earth while the other one continues to go to Mars. So Mars is cool for a couple things. One, Mars has the things they need to make fuel there for their rockets. 2, they don't have a secondary booster stage because there is no, I mean, there's not much gravity on Mars. It's 1/3 Earth's gravity. So it's a third G. So it doesn't take near as much thrust to get off the planet. So he really got this worked out. So now what they're working on, so I didn't know he funded one of these let's live in the lab thing, the one in the Scandinavian countries. He actually funded them. So they're up there learning how to live together, how to be together. He wants to go to Mars. And
the other thing about his rockets, and this is why the shuttle program failed, it wasn't 100% reusable. When they launched it, there were 3 jet fuel bodies that went up with it, and big fat orange one, and then 2 little skinny white ones, right? And then somewhere, I don't know, the stratosphere, those skinny ones ran out of fuel and would break off. Parachutes would open from the cones, and they would come back, and they were recoverable and reusable. The big orange one, which probably cost back in the 80s, billions and billions of dollars, burnt up in the atmosphere every time. And that's, you can't, if you want to go into space, you can't throw up sacrificial money like that. I mean, that's so much money.
Yeah. And well, Christopher, the shuttles were reusable, but really how reusable
the craft was, but the thing that gets it up there was not. I mean,
but even
that jet fuel thing that explodes on its way back into Earth.
So we lost 2 shuttles?
Yes, two entire things.
I think all together. Alexa, how many shuttle missions were there?
From BaltimoreSun.com, NASA's space
Live, Alexa.
Ended in 2011 after 30 years and 135 missions.
There you go, 135 missions. So Elon's already flew more than this, by the way. In case y'all didn't know this, he
probably spent half as much.
Oh, probably 1/3 as much. He's just, guys, I mean, what's that, Chris? Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we can use Alexa Live on TV. How you like that? Well, I don't know if we're on Roku or not today, but we usually are. If we're not, we will be up in the rerun.
I'll ask Diane, see if she's watching us on Roku.
It's, what's that, Deneen? Well, yeah, I don't know. Jay and I were talking about before the show. There seems to be something glitching with Roku.
Sometimes it doesn't function,
Yeah, and I've been having a hard time for about the last 10 days getting on and off the site, so I'm going to have to call them and see what's up with that. Yeah, I don't know. It's something glitchy. No, we pay good money for it, so they either have to give us a refund or fix it.
Yeah.
Or both. What's that? I don't know. It's actually cool. So getting back to what we were talking about, I don't know how, listen to these questions today. So these Navy guys, I have no doubt that they were telling the truth. And, the one guy, so they asked him, do you think you could have shot him down? And he kind of giggled like, no. He said, no. I said, I think it would have just sped off and left us in the dust. It would have been, oh, no, he meant it. It's so the maneuvers these things do and the speeds they go are very interesting. And one of the things that helps us know it's not ours or anybody on the planet are the speeds. The maneuverability used to be a big thing, but you have to remember we have drone technology now that don't have humans in them that can flip over and spin around and do all sorts of and stuff. They can do a lot of what the Foo Fighters did in World War II, but
I was just going to bring that up.
but they can't do the speeds.
Yeah.
So the Foo Fighters, they most of the pilots figured the Foo Fighters were moving from 0 to Mach 5 in like 1/8 of a second. They talked about it a great deal. And the Germans, a lot of people thought they were Germans. Germans thought they were Americans. Japanese thought they were Americans. Americans sometimes thought they were Germans, but sometimes we thought maybe the Brits were doing it. The Brits thought they were the Italians. The Italians had no idea who they were, who they belonged to. Nobody still to this day knows who the Foo Fighters are.
But on top of that, there's 3 stories where the Foo Fighters actually fired on both sides, with both Japanese and American, and on the other theater, German and American, or German and Allied, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and here we are 80 years later, and nothing we have can still replicate the technology.
Still can't touch them. Still can't. Well, and there's other stories too. They have other abilities than just that, even firing on us and even sometimes making us fire upon ourselves, like friendly fire kind of incidents. But there's been stories where they've actually been able to disable physical mechanical machine guns and also to disable the electronics. And later on, when we have like the jets with sophisticated computer controls, they've been able to shut those computers down. And in some cases, the pilots have had to eject, and we lose, that plane.
Yeah, and our planes are expensive, people.
Yeah, F-15s, what, 14 million a pop? which is in $1 billion a year. It's not bad.
Carolyn, like Carolyn from the horror movie. No, I was just asking. Don't have to get all violent and stuff. Where are you from, Carolyn? New York? I don't know. Something about the way you would text makes me think you're from. Yeah, you are. See, I knew it. I know. See, it's weird that characteristics show up in text. Well, we used to argue about this all the time when we first started doing text 30 years ago. That you could tell somebody's text. People would like get new names and try to come into a chat group and act like. But there's just certain things about the way you type that suggest you might know the person, or the person might be from a certain area. Well, up north, so the Northeast, they use particular types of words and in particular arrangements. So you can kind of tell that somebody's from that area. Yeah, New York, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, places like that, Philadelphia. And, oh, no, when you get in the South, it's a little different. But in the South, you can actually get a little bit more detailed. Different parts, like along the Gulf Coast, have distinctly different accents and different ways different words they use and stuff like that. Yes. I don't know. The aliens seem not to care whatsoever. And it doesn't seem that language.
They seem to care in one aspect, is they don't want to be revealed for whatever reason, which implies sinister connotations down the road.
Well, that's true and not true, because to all the contactees, they've already revealed themselves. So what you have is you have 1.5 billion people running around, and one way or another has had some type of contact, and 7 billion who don't have a clue, and probably. But
those are huge numbers, Joe. 1.5 billion people in a 7 billion population is still pretty small. That's basically 1% of the population, maybe a little less.
Well, so what are we at?
Concealing doesn't always, how do hunters work? They do the same thing. They got two kinds of hunters. You got ambush hunters and you got concealment hunters.
See, this is a little bit different. This is something that happened. We know for sure that these go way back, because we personally have cases that are 6 generations. So we have cases that are 5 and 6 generations, and then a bunch of 3 and 4s. But the point being is, we know it goes back that far, and we know from person to 6 that it goes back further than that. So more than likely, whenever we came out of whatever it was, when we started becoming human, or whenever they decided to create the human, whatever it was, it started in some family lines. They took some people and didn't take other people. And more than likely, it probably had to do with the telepathic abilities you had, or your overall abilities. So they probably abducted in family lines looking for particular abilities, because it's what they seem to be doing today. And they still abduct in family lines. They don't just, that's what people don't understand. They don't just go randomly abducting people out of the blue. If they take you, you're related to somebody they've taken before. And they don't wait till you're 45 years old to take you either. People just can't seem to get past that. If you're going to track a species, especially when you've been here as long as they've been here, it's easy. You can track from birth to death.
And by the way, Diane says we are on Roku and it's working. She says you have a white shirt and I have a black shirt. So I think we're in two.
I'm sorry, people get carried away.
It's official.
When we have our sexy selves out here like that, we want people to see it.
And by the way, he did call ahead of time so we could coordinate and not show up in the same shirt. So we're all good.
Well, Neil, you could be right. I mean, we're a race that so far has shown, we're just violent. If you look at our history, we're violent. We can't. I mean, look at.
Also, look at how fast we've come. I mean, just 100 years. If we just go back to 1923, what's happening in 1923? We just turned off the law that illegalized alcohol. Okay, yeah. And the car is just out. Horses are being, put by the side. Steam engines are going away. Electricity's coming on everywhere. That's just 1920s. And here we are 100 years later, and we got guys flying around in space all day long.
Yes, and I'm getting a flying car.
So that is enormously fast.
I'm going to get a flying car.
Yeah, those are coming out, what, next week? Next month?
Y'all ain't getting a flying car. What do you mean? They're made out of a composite. They're very light. So, no, they drive on the road. Oh, yeah, you can drive on the road. Well, some of them you can, but these you can. Yeah, you can drive. You can drive on the road. You can drive in the air. Now you can play, I'm George Jetson. Yeah, you can do the George Jetson theme now. Yes. I don't know. It's but if so, 6,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago, we're going to say 20,000 years ago, we were basically just wearing skins and running around in the woods and building things. But to prove how violent we are, remember, there was more than just Neanderthal. There was Cro-Magnon and there was Neanderthal. There was more than just that. So our violence wiped out the other parts of us, or we bred them out, one or the other. Neanderthal, I think that they think we just bred them out. We interbred till they were gone. Maybe so. But anyway, just this species left today. Yes, and we think about this. We are every person on this planet is related. Everyone. Mm-hmm. Every person on this planet is related. Well, no, I'm not talking about through blood. I'm talking about through you were born from star stuff, just what a place you're going to go back to. Everything here is related, including the planet. Everything you have the same atoms the planet has, its dust outside has, that the star has. That's you, and yet you just want to kill each other for whatever. And usually it's for stupid ass reasons. Yeah. So right now, Russia wants to start a nuclear war over Ukraine for what?
What? Yeah, but what is there that they need?
I mean, really. And here you got this Zelensky guy. He thinks he's badass now because he's sending drones into Moscow.
Zelensky, yeah. No, he's a little.
He's going to keep screwing around, sending drones into Moscow, and all of a sudden the tactical nuke's going to hit Kyiv, and then shit's going to hit the fan.
He does. Yeah, he doesn't want to compromise. He wants to have the whole of Ukraine back, including the stuff Russia took a couple of years ago on the far western border.
Well, they're putting it on them in Crimea, so they might get it back, but
they're kicking ass. I mean, it's.
But so let's stop and look at this for a minute. So you have supposedly the second most powerful nation on the planet getting its ass kicked by a country that we'd rolled over like it didn't even exist. So what's going on here?
There maybe
they don't even have
this could be like an insurance kind of deal, you know. They're not trying to gain insurance, but think about what happened in 1929, the Great Depression. We were, broke for like almost 11, 12 years, and then World War II happens, and then our economy comes back. So maybe that's what he's doing. He's got the war going, so it boosts both their economies. I don't know, but I can't fathom what's so important about Ukraine that he won't stop until he has the whole country.
He swears it's because we're going to let him go into NATO, and then we'll have.
So what? What is it? He can join NATO if he wants. Who cares?
I
don't care.
I'd like to see him get it that way.
No,
I think there's some country. I don't know, Gene. You mean the China gold back money? Yeah, the countries that want to back their money. China can't back its money back. Okay, let me explain the real thing. America has about $18 trillion worth of gold. Unfortunately, we have about $33 trillion worth of debt. So it's hard for us to back our money with gold. So China thinks it can do that. But China already has $12 trillion in debt and a $12 trillion economy. So they're at zero. So they can't back it. That's the problem. Until we get into deep space and we go start mining that asteroid that's got that 5 gazillion pieces of gold on it. Yeah, or worth $5 gazillion. Yeah, this asteroid is one asteroid. Now we've talked about different ones before. There's one asteroid. This
doesn't just have gold. The bulk of it's gold, but it has platinum and titanium.
Yeah, I don't know. It had 3 really good metals.
Some of the biggest metals we could ever use for, especially for space travel. Titanium, you use it for almost everything in space travel now.
So if you took the world's economy 10 times, it's not the value of this one asteroid. And you want to know why Elon wants to get into space. Just think if he claims he's part of the asteroid and lands on this comet and says it's mine.
Boom. Prospectors' rights would probably have to come into effect.
Can you imagine having gold made from an asteroid streaking through the planet? How much more are they going to want for that gold? And then you're going to be like, wait, what? It's asteroid gold. It costs 3 times as much as regular gold. Matter of fact, it might
cost 3 times as much to bring it here. So
it would probably render Earth gold cheap. It would probably cost, because you're going to find just that. They already know they're going to find. They're thinking they're going to find gold on Mars, but they're thinking they might find diamonds the size of this on Mars regularly.
Oh, wow.
And Olympus Mons. So, Olympus Mons is so big. Anything under that pressure, I mean, you may see diamonds the size of Volkswagens. Yeah. So when we get out of the universe,
diamonds aren't found in mountains. They're found in alluvial, like loose, rocky soil.
Yeah, after it's been exploded and compressed, and then it's sent out.
Yeah, but
it has to be compressed.
It hasn't exploded yet.
Yeah, it starts out of cold, then it just gets compressed and compressed and compressed.
It takes 10 million years or something like that.
Since there's not plate tectonics there, it's probably not going to move like it does here. So, or you'll probably find it the same. In other words, something here you might find in a pit that may have been on a whole other side of the freaking planet when it actually, when the stuff came out to start to form the coal, to form the diamonds, which was probably 50, 60 million years ago. No telling where that part of it was. It may have been way, way, way on the other side of Earth. So, but on Mars, you're not going to see that because there's no plate tectonics. So it'll be in the same location.
We're not even sure if the core is molten magma or what kind of material, or if it has.
They go back.
Obviously, it doesn't have enough magnetism to sustain an atmosphere. There is a slight atmosphere there, but not enough for us to breathe. So whatever happened to the planet, it can't sustain a thick enough atmosphere.
I've heard big arguments about crystal cores, metal cores. They don't think it's a liquid core like ours.
It could be a metal core, it's not liquid anymore.
Speeds up too fast, slows down. Don't ask. I don't know. Maybe you get too many humans on it, it makes it wobble.
The likelihood, the way we know about solar mechanics is that the very likelihood is that it's one form of heavy metal or another, because all the heavy material tends to coalesce and formulate the inner planets like we have in our solar system, and then the gaseous ones, the lighter materials. And then that's just basic star physics there.
It's no, Jimmy, we're going to talk a little bit more about it. What you got down in Dolores Cannon has said. Well, let me just click it up here where I can actually read it. Like a human. There you go. Now you can actually read it. So let's see, Dolores Cannon said, "Are waiting for planetary unity before we would be ready to land and introduce themselves." Well, the problem is they have already introduced themselves. So this is the real question, I guess, or the real problem. So we know they've been interfering with at least 15% of the population for, I don't know, 200,000 years. The Greys
probably minimum.
The Greys are probably less, but the reptilians and humans are at least 200,000 or plus. The Greys are going to be less because we can see, if you look at the if you look at the hieroglyphs in Egypt and there's different writings in Sumeria, you don't see the Greys. You do see the reptilians and human stuff. Oh, yes, human aliens or human deities, whatever you want to call them. You see them and you see the reptilians. You don't see the Greys until more recent times.
Yeah.
In Egypt.
Some of the Sumerian dolls or figures are lizard-like that project the
because it was a thing. It was the lizards came back to Earth or came up from Earth. But how, I don't know. Nobody knows for sure. If they do know they went some type of ship because that was discussed.
Well, there is a speculation on that. The two speculations are, one, that there's a race of reptilians, alien reptilians, not from the solar system, that came from that Alpha Draconis system somewhere, and then there's the alien, not alien, but humanoid reptilians that probably evolved from dinosaurs that live in the inner Earth, and the two species together are similar but don't like each other. And then the other theory is that they're both from Earth, and they're some sort of splinter like the Vulcans and the Romulans, and some of them went out into space and never came back until now. And then the ones underneath the Earth again are the ones that are kind of sort of siding with us, but they don't like us.
Well, what's weird about this is that when you hear contactees talk about the reptilians, because reptilians treat contactees more like their family than the humans or the Greys do, because they do consider them family. They share a bloodline, so they consider them family. The thing of it is we know for a fact now, and this was what was so confusing in the early days of research about the reptilians. So there's only one big tribe or one big race of reptilians, but, and this is a big but, there are, I think, 8 or 12 tribes. And what's weird about this is each tribe is different in the fact that we know one has at least one, either one or two have sets of wings. One species has gills. They have different ones have different things. And
and there are also different colors, which indicate.
Yeah, there's definitely different colors there.
And the ones with the wings usually are indicating some sort of royalty or control or government system. Something of that.
And you'll see like greens on their outer I want to call them scales. It's not really scales. It's just the way their skin's made.
You can call it scales. It's a reptilian type of. It's like hard, chitiny, and leathery at the same time.
So, oh no, Gene, they're not. That's the thing. They're not cold-blooded. They're warm-blooded. Well, any reptilian would eventually evolve into warm-blooded.
I think the term that I heard was used was semi-warm-blooded.
Yeah, well, that's what we thought.
They didn't need to sleep for months like other reptilians.
Yeah, that's what we thought, but it seems like the reptilians don't agree with that. They seem to think that they're warm-blooded. Guys, you'd have to ask one of them. I don't know. We have lots and lots of people who have talked to the reptilians. Lots. No, I mean, so ICAR right now currently has almost 100,000 cases on file. Out of that, probably 22 or 24,000 are reptilians. There's a lot of, and it's not just us. The Mesoamericans has a shitload of information on the reptilians. They also have information on the human aliens as well. But the reptilians, until sometime recently, the reptilians were revered. They were loved. They were considered the bearers of life.
The snake in Egypt, in Egyptian hieroglyphs, is synonymous with power and sometimes fertility.
And let's not forget Kublai from the Aztecs or the Mayans. These were revered gods. I mean, they considered the human deities, and the Egyptians did too. By the way, Egyptians could, they had the dog gods and the different gods. They considered all of them to be evil. They considered, but there were two reptilians they considered to be good. So somewhere along the line, and because our timelines are screwed up because no one knows, how long.
We don't know the history,
Yes, but somewhere along the line, the Greys were brought in for whatever reason. I think it was because humans and the reptilians were about to get into a shit fight and end it. Going back to what Neil was saying about unity, I don't know, man. If we got to wait for unity, that's shit.
We would. The problem with disclosure and these hearings in Congress and all, and Stephen Greer and all that, it's exciting. But I've been looking into this UFO thing since I was 11 years old. I know it sounds silly, but since 11 years old, I've been looking at this whole problem. And from all those years, I'm 56. Do the math yourself. I'm terrible at it. I've heard always the same stories. The Greys are good, they're bad. They're good, they're bad. That reptilian, same thing. Good, bad, good, bad. So we know that there's good ones and bad ones. Are we in the clutches of the good ones or the bad ones? I don't know. But the scary part is we don't know. That's the really scary part. We won't reveal that. And they keep saying that. You've heard it from the aliens that until we're unified. The only thing that's going to unify us against them or to become friends with them is for them to invade us. Like Reagan said, for some outside force to come in and attack the planet. We're not going to give up our petty discrepancies for anyone. Period. That's just human nature. Don't ask me why, but those are the guys in charge.
That brings us back to the hearings. So why all of a sudden? Now I know Trump decided that he had an interest in UFOs, and he's the one that started Space Command. So he thought that there was a threat from something out in space, just like Ronald Reagan thought there was a threat from something in space. Clinton did as well, but Clinton could never get the information. They would never tell Clinton anything for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, it doesn't seem that they tell Democrat presidents. But in all fairness, I think they've only ever told 3 Republican presidents anyway, so I don't think it's...
And I think they stopped either after, was it Bill Clinton or Obama, or before Obama?
No, Obama didn't know. But what happened was, I think the only reason Baby Bush found out was because Daddy Bush.
Because of Daddy Bush, yeah, no kidding.
I think Daddy Bush just told him, and that's how
he would have known for years, being the head of the CIA. For 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was.
He was the head of the CIA, and then he was vice president for 8 years, and then he was president for 4. So yeah, he knew.
Reagan, one of those jobs, he found out.
Yeah, so one of them he did. So this is what's so weird, people, and this kind of makes me just a little bit nervous. So Ronald Reagan finds out there's extraterrestrials. First thing he does is go out and give a speech about how it would unite the planet. But he didn't give this speech one time. I know he gave it at least 7 times. He gave this speech in front of big audiences like the UN and stuff. He wasn't playing. Then he instituted Star Wars. Okay, well, Star Wars was going to blow up Russian missiles. Have y'all ever seen the lasers for Star Wars? Oh, hell no.
The actual name is SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative, but the nickname is Star Wars. It just sounds better.
It just sounds better. And then he instituted Pine Gap, the Joint British Defense of Outer Space. So let me explain something. Outer space is not the moon, okay? No. Outer space is at least the asteroid belt out. Most people consider outer space probably the Oort cloud.
Out past the Oort cloud, yeah.
So anyway it goes, it's not about right here. So they're thinking of ways to defend us from something coming in from deep space.
You might actually consider where we are, where all of our planets are, even the last bit of the Oort cloud, as just a planetary system, and that's it. You know, that we're in planetary space, and outside of that is in outer space, and then under our oceans is inner space. Kind of makes sense.
It does, and then of course he instituted the HARP facility. So this man institutes 3 facilities with high. I mean, the HARP facility punches holes in the ionosphere on a regular basis. It's using types of beams that no one's even heard of before. Then we found out recently that the HARP facility was shooting beams up to satellites that were reflected down to Pine Gap that were being reshot through their dish system back into space. What the hell is this? This sounds like they're charging.
That's how you make an untraceable phone call. Don't you watch the movies?
Yeah, I think that's a high-powered freaking system they got going on there.
Either they're talking to someone or sending messages and not getting. Maybe they're receiving. I don't know, but that sounds like you don't bounce something off and then focus it, and then beam it out into space without it having some purpose. So either they're trying to look at something or they're trying to send a message,
or they're trying to shoot something,
or they're trying. Maybe if it's a particle beam or an energy beam that can do that, sure.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe, Johnny, they're trying to shoot Narubu, who's coming to kill us when it comes too close this time.
And now, remind me, where is Pine Gap? Is that the one down off of the coast of Australia?
Yeah, it's in Australia. Yeah, it's the one.
So that's the one that shoots the beam at the UFOs in the STS-48 footage from the.
Yeah. That's the one they said was trying to shoot down UFOs. They swear it didn't have any. It didn't knock anything down, but
it missed. If you watch the video, I mean, the thing takes off before the beam gets there.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. These things move so fast that So even though the beam's moving at light speed, to them it's kind of like moving in slow motion, and then they're like, "Really? You're going to shoot that? We're over here now."
Yeah, they weren't over here. They were out of the solar system by that point. I mean, it was.
Yeah. I know it's. Guys, when you get into this kind of stuff, it gets dangerous because our government's doing things that even they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I've been threatened on the phone with my life for talking about this in public.
No, yeah. So when you listen to these hearings, you have to wonder, what is this about? What's that, Jack? What about Project Blue Beam?
Project what?
Blue Beam. Is that the hologram project where they make those really cool holograms? That the one that they were supposedly going to use to have a fake invasion.
UFO invasion.
So we're doing alien disclosure. It's going to get more deep as things go on. It's going to get a little scarier. Now we found water on Mars recently. We found what we think might be a microbiological life form on Mars.
Well, we already knew that. There's a rock that came from Mars. We know it comes from Mars because the chemistry works out. Which when they broke it open, inside is some fossilized bacteria. So we know that life was once there. Probably isn't any now, but there may be some.
This is something they found recent that they think. So this is what's weird about Mars. I've already predicted they'll find life on Mars. So
I think they're only going to find an extremophile, something that can live inside of a volcano.
People not taking into consideration. So and you have to watch Mars so when you're watching Mars, the polar caps shrink and grow.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they're melting, which means that water's going somewhere. So now you've got water and heat and air, which is all you need to make life.
Well, NASA also has some stop motion footage from Mars from one of their probes, one of their satellite probes, where you can see water receding and going back and like moving water, not just ice, but actual liquid water. It's just slightly under the top of the alluvial there. So like a rocky terrain. But you can see the water go forward a little bit in like almost a wave pattern, and then recede back in that same pattern. It's picture after picture after picture from days and days and days and days. But there's moving water on that planet. We just have to find it.
Well, that's the thing. Well, we know. So the last 10 or 12 times when the caps receded, they've noticed something. It gets really black where the water ice was. They're pretty sure it's some type of fungi or some type of mold, something growing there.
Possibly an algae. If it's underwater and ice, it's probably a frozen algae.
Yeah, so they actually think it's something, fairly decent size, something maybe we could use. They say, God could be the cure. Well, who knows? But
Let's just hope it's not the black goose from Star Trek Next Generation that killed Tasha Yar. That would not be cool.
So I know that would be real fun. So,
blob.
So what they're saying is, in places where there's caverns where some of this water is going, you might have it even. And if there's stuff growing in there, you'll have more, because they can't figure out why from time to time they get these bloofs of oxygen and these bloofs of carbon. They don't know where they're coming from. Both of these are usually made by something alive or something dying, decaying. So they're pretty sure that there's probably either underwater canals or underwater lakes where there are things actually alive. And he said what makes this more interesting is because there's something growing there, it creates an atmosphere inside the pocket. So it's created its own oxygen, and in turn, oxygen's created carbon. So it's just a regular
oxygen
process.
doesn't have a shelf lifespan. So if there are caverns and some of the atmosphere was trapped, and there's no escape for it, there may be some breathable parts underground for humans. So there's no telling.
There may be that too, because they're thinking they think they might find atmosphere in parts of Olympus Mons. But it's more than that, because these things do look like they're alive, and they are creating something, and they're giving off some type of gases. So it's a good chance if there are little underground pockets of water here and there on Mars, there's probably some type of life in there. But the reason I bring this up is one of the things I used to talk about, and I still do on a regular basis, is the desensitization program. So we've been under desensitization.
That's what Hollywood's up to.
Yeah, well, for about 100 years now, we've been under more than that, about 150 years. So we started being just all of a sudden out of nowhere, just sci-fi books started coming from everywhere.
In the 1940s and 50s, yeah, your Rocket Man books.
Even in the 1800s, and even some of them in the late 1900s, there was a lot of them.
Well, I mean, the Sumerian Enuma Elish. I mean, let's talk about that. If we're going to talk about desensitization, you've got this society that they can only speak their language. They can't write it. They can't read it. And you have these elite people that decide to put their language into writing, and but knowing that the populace can't read it, they invent this writing system, and then they write Star Wars with these aliens coming out from space and messing with the genome and doing this, that, and these godly-like things with spaceships. Who does that? You don't invent language and then invent Star Wars the very same day. It just, it even took us 100 years to go from steam engines to where we are now and rolling around in space.
If you got pre-going information, you can. It's well, there's so much stuff, people. Well, we don't know. It just seems like the planets are being visited for a long time and at different phases. So we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
So think of it this way: 70 million years ago, there were probably reptilians living on this planet. They probably left.
70 million years ago, there were still dinosaurs walking around.
Yeah, but there were probably reptilians living here. They probably found this planet.
If you follow modern science, dinosaurs are reptilian, but in all actuality, most of them are more like birds. However, they are still thought of as mostly reptilian. So if 70 million years ago, yeah, this planet was mostly reptilian. I mean, look at the alligators. Look how many alligators there are, and how big they were 70 million years ago.
Yeah, everything was huge back then, people. It's that was the fourth life span on this planet. Dinosaurs. Well, we're the fifth, and there was other life before that. So,
oh yeah,
I mean, you can argue. Some people say life started 1.5 billion years ago. Some people say 700 million years ago. I'm probably agreeing the first amoeba probably started about 1.5 billion years ago. But how long it took that amoeba to get to anything of any consequence was probably another 500 million years or so.
But based on the age of the planet, it's even larger than that. There could be species that grew up and evolved and left this planet for space within the first 2 billion years, and we're 4.5 billion years old. There's all kinds of possibilities. We just don't know. If there was a society here, even just 1 billion, well, let's just go back 1 million years ago. If there was a society 1 million years ago that was as advanced as us, their buildings would look like the stuff you find in Egypt right now. You wouldn't be able to tell a thing. If there was electricity there, you might find, some trace of it, but I doubt it, because copper would be gone. The rubber that was the coating on it would be gone. The flooring would be gone. It's just a fact of nature.
Yeah, you don't believe that there's a show you can watch that shows you what happens to our planet after just 10,000 years. It shows New York after 10. It's unrecognizable. It's wild animals running.
Even if you just look at even the fictional movie Logan's Run, where it's a post-nuclear, dystopian utopian society, and when Logan breaks out, he gets to Washington D.C. and he sees the Lincoln Memorial. It's all covered up in vines and growth. The Washington Monument is crumbled. It's only like half of its height remains. It's not an unreal expectation. In 100 years everything would crumble. Maybe even less.
And it goes back to, you should always keep written books around, because electronics are electronics, and without power, electronics are squat. And with a good EMP pulse, electronics are wiped anyway. So
back in mine and Joe's day, when we were kids, the internet was called books.
Yes, it was. And if you needed to learn something, you did.
Or the library. Which again,
this guy writes, "Oh, I'll just use YouTube videos." And how are you going to do that? YouTube. And even if you've got some
horror stories, that our youth, our millennials are so physically, mechanically, inept that they have a flat tire and they pull over. They have to use YouTube to find out how to figure out how to change the tire so they can get to the gas station and get the big tire fixed. What if you break down like in somewhere in Texas where they don't have internet in the middle of the highway? You're done.
Yeah, you're pretty.
Darwin's theory comes back into play at that point.
Yeah, Chris, if you've got a bunch of laptops and all with a bunch of those YouTube videos loaded down, as long as you got power, you'll be able to look at them. You don't need the internet if they're on the physical hard drive.
Yeah, to physically download it, yeah, but
whatever is going to knock out power is going to probably wipe your hard drives. It's going to probably be an email of some kind. So you're not going to have that information. You're going to need a book. And let me tell you what, books are becoming more scarce every day. I don't personally right now. I don't know what this stuff is with Congress and this. Something about it just doesn't feel right to me, and I trust my feelings.
It's smoke and mirrors. If you're talking about the disclosure hearings, it's all smoke and mirrors. It always has been.
Well, no, Denise, I've been technically I've been in the field 40 years. Way more than most people who's going to even go talk to these people. What do you mean? Why am I not talking? First off, how do you know I haven't talked to them? And secondly, I already told them I wouldn't talk in front of Congress. Well, what do you think? They weren't going to want to talk to the guy who runs it? Everybody always thinks MUFON's big. So MUFON's got like 5,000 members. Yeah, it might have less than that, because they ask to be paid. They want to be paid. You have to pay to be a member of MUFON. It might have gone up. I don't know. It could be higher. Last time I checked, because they're a 301c3, you can check it out. Last time I checked, we were somewhere around 3,000 or 5,000 members. We have more people watching that tonight on the show than just give me a break, man. Look, I think this is a good thing. I'm not trying to say this is a bad thing. I really do think this is a good thing, because we need to the truth needs to get out there.
Yeah, but are they going to tell us the whole story? And then that's what I'm.
They're already. I mean, when you listen to the Charis guy, he's already saying, "Oh, I can't say that in public. I can't say that in public." I mean, the whole point of these hearings is to be out in the public.
And that's another problem with some of those high profile whistleblowers. What was the guy a few years ago from Scotland? I forget his name. I think his first name was David, but the guy from Scotland, he hacked into the U.S. database and he got all these alleged pictures of.
The one that was locked up in Europe, so we couldn't get him forever.
Right? Yeah, that dude. But in all the stuff he showed, there were a couple of pictures I saw that were like, okay, they're nowhere any better or worse than photos we've had for the last 50, 60, 70 years. But he has other things. He said he talked about the space fleet even before Trump invented the Space Force. The space fleet that we had with friends from afar or foreign advisors, which really means aliens from another planet. It just was conjecture. The proof wasn't. None of it was hardcore, and it's been like that for almost all of the guys. Unfortunately, my hero is Bob Lazar. He hasn't produced any hard evidence, but everything he said has happened. 1989, he came out with his story. I was in high school in 1945. I remember I was very good in New York Science. I remember specifically looking at the table of the elements, and there's this little blow off thing that says man-made elements, and one of them was 115, and it didn't have a name, but it had 3 letters, UUP. 1989, 5 years after I graduated high school, he says UUP is Unipentium, and then they invented it in 2013. Come on, why is it in my science book in 1984 without a name, and then here it is 2013, where it's an actual element that we can make in limited quantity, and it happens in Russia. And now it's called Moscovia. Okay, that's predictive right there. That's my only evidence that I say Bob Lazar is on the money. But it's not hardcore. You can't. I couldn't take that to court. I'd be laughed out of it.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, you know, we used to talk about this a lot in the early days of the research, that there was plenty enough evidence to win a lawsuit, but there's not enough evidence to prove they exist. How does that work? So right now, if I want to
get a conviction, but you're not going to get any hardcore evidence out, you know.
So there's plenty enough eyewitnesses today to win a case, a court case, to prove extraterrestrials exist. That's the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
Still, you know, so because, you know, people tell me all the time, well, it needs to be a standard of evidence. I said, I'll take you to court anytime and win this case. It's an easy case to win. You know, to prove an extraterrestrial, prove people have had contact, we'll show up with, you know, 1,500 or 2,000 people who have been taken and say, well, you can call them all a liar. They've all been polygraphed. They've all been voice stressed. They've all been hypnotized. You're going to call them liars now?
Well, you can also take a look at the numbers for missing people throughout the planet. You know, what is it in America? It's like about 1 million people per year that disappear and never, ever, ever return. Now, either these people are all stepping off of a cliff somewhere and, you know, getting just, you know, turned back into soil, or they're being taken somewhere and never, ever come back. There's no way 1 million people per year disappear off the face of this planet by just being stupid.
Well, I mean, 1 million people could disappear if they're going to China or other places like that. But it's always bothered me.
Missing and never comes back. But you know, he puts his log at the ranger station where he's going to jump into the bush, and then he's supposed to log out. We know that, but there's no way that people that just die of circumstance in the woods, 1 million of them a year. That's just an outrageous number to me.
Yeah, what the hell? Wait. It's I you know, I was actually talking with a friend of mine about that today or yesterday, actually, about 1 million people a year go missing. But see, if it's 1 million people in America going missing, yeah, that's kind of high. But if it's 1 million worldwide, yeah, but 8 out of 8 billion, that's nothing. That's not even. That's like a 0.01%.
Yeah, that's less than 1% of the population. Even if we have 6 billion, even if it was 100 million people a year, that's still less than 1%.
Yeah, well, I think last time I heard we were at 8 billion now. America was almost 400 million, and the world was at actually the world. I think it's over 8 billion now.
Well, that could also be, you know, population growth, you know, predictionary stuff. But yeah,
but you know, I could be wrong too.
By the end of the decade, we'll be at least 10 or 12 billion people strong.
Alexa, how many people on Earth today?
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the world population today is approximately 7.99 billion.
7.99 billion, yeah. That's
just call it 8. But you're what, 0.006 away from 8?
Well, they've been saying
there's going to be 0.008 babies born tomorrow.
The reason I asked is because the UN the other day said we were at 8.1 billion people. That's what the United Nations said we were at. So,
well, that's the thing about life. Some people die off, some people born into it. So it's, you know, it's kind of balancing.
Well, right now, where I think I don't remember exactly, but it's like two births for every 1.25 deaths. And it's been going down. I mean, they're actually, in some countries, they're worried it's going to hit a neutral point. In America is one of them. Today, I think we're like 1.5 die, 1.75 are born. And we've just been steadily going down. Russia also has been going down. China has been moving down, but China's got a different kind of problem. It has less females than males. And that seems to be getting worse, not better. So that
may also be a function of biology, that there's just too many of a species in a general area, and the genetics of that species, you know, let's make more guys, and then that way there can't be.
Well, mostly it was China's really bad laws about let's kill off our daughters. And
well, yeah, that's part of it. Have only one child per household for the most part.
Yeah, they for a while you wouldn't even get in trouble if you had a daughter first and decided to terminate it. Hey, people, I don't make the rules. That's China. And then China put restrictions on births, and then they lifted them. There's no restrictions on China now.
Yeah, this is just recent though, like in the last year or two, right?
So you got no, I think it's I don't know. I think it's been like 6 or 7 years, but
it's not far. Yeah, it's very recent.
It's not a long. What's that, Korean? I don't know. I mean, so far, I mean, I think some of the Congress people have been asking good questions. I'm surprised I don't see more military people there. Maybe the Congress people aren't letting them in. I know
probably because they already know some of it. You know, you get a high enough general or colonel, they might already know or be partially, read in on the subject.
What do you mean? No, well, Korean, I don't know. I mean, it's so damn. I can't even talk. Some of the stuff I can't even talk about, but I'll put it this way. I met 2 years ago, I met the #2 general for Space Command. Okay, I met him at a gala event in Los Angeles, California. So I actually met the big boss too last year. But this guy was retiring, and we sat and talked. We had dinner and sat and talked a couple of times while we were there. And Saturday, before he was leaving, he came and he caught me at the bar, and we sat down and we had a nice long talk because he had looked me up. I guess he went and did some web searching to find out who it was. Because John had told him that not only do I do press, but I was into aliens and UFOs and stuff. And so he went and looked me up, and we came and talked, and we talked for quite a bit. Now, this guy was retiring. So he says the biggest problem with all this is the government doesn't really know what anything's going on. And he said, first off, it's so compartmentalized between so many different agencies that they won't share. He said, so the FBI may have these 2 little pieces. The CIA may have these 5 pieces. The NSA may have these 3 pieces. OSI may have these 2 pieces.
Air Force has pieces. Navy has pieces. Army has pieces. It's all over the place.
Yes, and they're not talking to each other. They're not sharing their pieces.
Well, allegedly the Navy's like off on its own, and that's like the Air Force and the Army are working together because they were at one point. They were one unified whatever.
The Navy wants to go by itself because it wants to go into space. I remember a captain in the Navy.
Well, doesn't Space Command fall under the jurisdiction of the Navy, or is it its own separate entity now?
I think it's its own separate entity now. I think it is now. In the beginning it was, but I think it is now. But the Navy wants to go into space because one of the captains told me, he said, "Well, it can't be like Stargate where the Air Force is out there." He says, "That's just bullshit." He says, "That's why they call them the Air Force. They're supposed to be in the air. We're in the space. We're in a deep sea blue. That's just more deep blue for us." Mm-hmm. I was like, well, I don't want to get in that argument. I guess I'm friends of the Air Force.
Think about it. A naval ship is better equipped to navigate space and defend itself than a lone, snub fighter like an F-15 or an F-22 even.
Yeah, it's just. Oh no, I did hear that, Bruce. So they're concepting right now a flying carrier. Yes. So
they've had that idea for a long time, and they've had one that people may not know about, not as cool. And there was actually a couple of them during World War II, submersible carriers. That the Japanese had 2 versions. One shot off a pontoon boat, and the other one shot off 2 pontoon boats. But our Navy explored the idea. My dad told me about this when he was alive. Down here in Potomac, they have the I forget the guy's name, David W. Taylor Naval Research Development Center. They have this big, huge tunnel on its side with water that makes a U around the room, and they put models in it. It's a cool building. But anyway, they thought about making a submersible aircraft carrier to go underwater like our subs do, and then pop up on China shore and open the doors, launch their planes, go underwater, and scoot away. But it was just physically, mechanically infeasible to do.
Yeah. Well, now that we're going to have cold fusion, they might be able to do these flying.
Maybe with something like that, yeah, unbelievable power, yeah.
Well, no, that's what's making this possible. There's going to be a lot of things possible now with cold fusion. It's first off, it's an unlimited fuel supply, and
I think it can generate force fields at least. That would be cool.
It's going to generate a lot. What do you mean it'll get used for? It might get used for war. I mean, it would be about 10 times as powerful as any nuke we have.
I mean, think about having something.
You got to figure out how to do it, though.
You would have something the size of this coin powering your house indefinitely. You don't ever have to pay the power company. You buy one of these at the Home Depot or the Lowe's, and then you put it in your basement, and then you have power for the rest of your life. That's how powerful and life-changing fusion is.
Anyway, you can take it. You'll have one in your car. So when you go to get your new car, all you got to do is bring your power source with you. You're not going to have to put fuel in or anything. You just drop it in.
Yeah. Then for that, what would you have? Something the size of a penny or a dime? Put it in your car, and literally your car runs on a dime.
You know, you have like a little softball or something for you if you got a really big house that you can take from home to home.
It's very reminiscent of what Bob Lazar described in 1989 with the cold fusion device he was able to examine on what he determined the sport model. I mean, this engine was specific. Once they put the little chip, a coin-sized piece of 115 element into this machine, and I don't know how long the machine ran with that piece of energy in it, but they were able to focus and change gravity waves and make this ship do what it does as we see them in the movies and the videos. You know, it makes itself glow. It can do unreasonable, unphysical movements in the air that would kill a normal human being in an F-15. And that's what's coming. We're on the cusp of that kind of, literally put a coin in a machine and it powers your house for the rest of its life.
Well, Dean, that's one of the reasons we invented drones, because there's drones. Even now, we'll have drones that will be able to fly faster than our jets do and do way more deadly maneuvers because there's nobody inside of them.
I mean, look at the Predators. Look at how big of an engine that thing has on the back of it. I mean, it's just one giant siphon for gas and oxygen.
It's they'll go fast and they'll be deadly. Well, you know, people think of drones. You're a drone, you fly around. No, man.
Yeah,
the fucking drone's bigger than my living room.
the Predator drone's probably what, bigger than a city bus.
Oh yeah, they're big.
Well, damn near that size at least.
Oh, they can carry a decent payload too. So the new ones are going to actually run off. So let's say you got an F-20, you got a pilot with an F-22. He's going to get 4 cover drones now. That'll work off the way he's flying. Everything will go through his system, so he can control them firing. They'll always keep the same distance from his craft at all times.
Yeah.
And run off. So if somebody shoots your missile, you don't see it. It don't see it. It'll just put itself in the way of the missile. But it'll have its own weaponry to blow it up. Do you know how hard it's going to be able to kill an American pilot? Do you know when we fly into it'll be just devastating. Well, yeah, the Russians and Chinese will eventually have them, maybe. But will they be the same quality as ours? I mean, I've watched China's military. It's not the same quality as ours. You know, the Soviet Union at least built pretty serious ships. Russia does not. Russia builds crap. But the Soviet Union built pretty serious ships. China still got a lot of communist issue problems, where a lot of the money that should be going to a craft. They bought one carrier from Russia, which is a crap. The one they built is another piece of crap. They don't have any of the technologies like Gerald Ford does, which is just a beast that will kill you dead wherever you are. I seen Gerald Ford the other day with one of its attack groups, and it's I wouldn't want to screw with it. And you have to remember, when they have a big attack group, it's 4 carriers with all of its submarines and all of its tendon fleet and all of its destroyers and cruisers, and you just don't want to run up into it. I don't care who you are. If you're Chinese, you better have your whole.
It has at least 1 submarine, sometimes 2. And then what else do they have? They have at least 1 destroyer, at least a couple frigates. Frigates are either shooting guided missiles, or they have radar controlled. What are those phalanx guns for shooting down missiles? So the blanket of protection around 1 of our carriers, let alone 4, it's enough to take down an entire navy.
It is, and it's enough to take down an entire country for that matter.
Yeah, that too.
I wouldn't.
Small country. You could take out Russia with 1 carrier, but you know, Afghanistan, no problem.
Ukraine, no problem. We'd already owned the Ukraine. I'm sorry, guys.
Ukraine. 3 days, maybe 5.
First thing we went in and took all their air out, and then we just started flying drones nonstop. And then we just started flying more drones, and then we just put some foot soldiers in there to go pick up all the dead people. It's a different war now, guys. It's a different kind of war now. Drone technology.
So we don't even have to launch our Navy, or not our Air Force planes to take out an Air Force. We can do it from the sky with our satellites and some of the SDI equipment that's up there. So,
Denise, you're talking about Shag Harbor. And so Shag Harbor was very interesting. One of the very first cases I ever talked about on a national radio show or television show was Shag Harbor. And it's a very interesting case because, 1, there was a lot of witnesses. 2, no one initially thought it was a UFO. They thought it was a downed plane. That's why so many people went and got in the water. And they found this thing that was growing under the water. It was producing this weird foam shit. and they had a couple of boats on top trying to see if there was people in there, coming out, because they still thought it was a plane, and this thing just took off, not at a real fast speed. It just took off and headed out the harbor, out into the open Atlantic Ocean, where they got into kind of deep water, but they said it looked like it stopped somewhere 50, 60 miles off the coast, off of Shag Harbor. Off the harbor, they said it stopped.
It's Sag Harbor, not Shag Harbor.
What's weird about this is about 15 years ago, 17 years ago, we had done a bunch of specials on this. And out of the blue, I got a friend of mine I got two friends actually who do submarine dives. They run submarines. Not I'm talking about for science, not for military. And one of them introduced me to this gentleman, and I was kind of like, wait, what was that? Sorry, I got distracted now. But anyway, get back to what we were talking about. He had told me he had been in the U.S. Navy. Actually, 3 of these guys had been in U.S. Marines. But so he says that they had been called. They were divers, Navy SEAL divers, and they had been called out to try to enter a craft that had been sitting off the coast for a couple of days. So we sent a U.S. submarine there, a big one too, from what I understand. And it sat there, and people they went and messed with this thing, tried to mess with it. And then about on the 7th day, another saucer showed up, or whatever type of craft it was, showed up.
The exact same shape as the one that was underwater.
Exactly the same craft. You couldn't tell them apart. And stayed there for a little while, and people started getting nervous.
13 or 14 hours, I think, and then they started under, if I recall correctly, they started under steam underwater down the coast to about maybe Nova Scotia or something like that, and then they left the water.
Yeah, then they left the water. Well, at first it wasn't under its own power. No, Dean. So at first it was almost like there was a tractor beam on it. That's what the divers described, some type of force pull. They actually didn't see anything light up. They just saw something pulling. He said as it started to move away in the water, the second one, the one that had been damaged, more of its external light started to come on.
Yeah, as it was being repaired.
Yeah, and somewhere down the coast, they both went airborne. And it wasn't just seen by the Navy people. They've been seen by people. It's a really good case that nobody ever wants to talk about.
Canadian Navy, if they had one, saw it, and or their Coast Guard, not their Navy, Coast Guard saw it. Yeah. Several different groups of fishermen saw it.
Because there were support ships brought out for the Navy sub.
Yeah,
there were several support ships on the surface. And so this was a lot of people in the military saw this.
It was no minor operation. It was huge.
And then, of course, they left. Oh, you're talking about Ketzberg.
Ketzberg's was different. That's the Acorn.
Yeah, I don't think Ketzberg was alien. I think Ketzberg was either ours or the Russians. I'm not sure.
It could have been a Russian thing. It could have. The speculation was also that it might have been Die Glocke from Nazi Germany.
Could have been that too,
of some sort. But who knows?
It was well, no. First off, it just didn't look alien. There was something about it that gave me the feel that it was terrestrial.
It's essentially acorn shaped. I mean, why would you make an acorn if you didn't have acorns on your planet? You wouldn't know that shape.
Yeah, it was weird. Well, a lot of people just think it was a satellite, either ours or somebody else, high end, doing something. God only knows it wasn't supposed to be.
It's very advanced, though. What was it, 67?
Yeah, it was very advanced for the time.
Yeah,
but no, they went in and retrieved it. And that's another thing. They open retrieved it. Why didn't they use like a covered car or a box truck? For some reason,
what happened in the story of that is they used a flatbed truck and they tarped it. They put a tarpaulin over the top of it.
Yeah, I know they put a tarp on it, but
somewhere down the road, one of the bungees snapped and they could be seen going down towards the highway. And many of the people in the city saw it leaving and heading towards the highways.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Why not use a covered vehicle, a hard cover? And
yeah. They may not have been aware of how big or how small it was. So
it was. They really seemed like it just seemed like there was military. Well, no. First off, there was no military people. No, I don't know, guys. It just even the locals. A lot of locals said it felt more ours than or something terrestrial than some extraterrestrial. They talked about the way the people acted. That there was a sense of secrecy, but not the kind of secrecy you would expect around an alien.
I mean, if it was ours, they might not necessarily have put a tarp over it or used a box truck, but
No, if it was ours, and if it was secret and it was ours, they wouldn't. Because people don't realize this, but we had a lot of shit flying around. We still do have a lot of shit flying around that's top secret that no one knows is up there except for the people who put it up there.
Well, and there's also over 100 million pieces of debris floating around.
There is a bunch of that shit. Yeah, you see, they found another piece of the shuttle in Australia the other day.
Oh wow!
And then somebody found one of the engines for the shuttle looking for something else. No, this is one of the shuttles that exploded. The one that was a Challenger that exploded and went into the water. But one of them crashed over the
Challenger exploded on the way up, and the other one exploded on the way down.
But one came over the country, exploded, so the parts were going.
It blew up over Australia. It blew up on its way down, and I think Skylab it blew up over Australia as well.
Yeah, no, but the shuttles, one shuttle blew up, and parts went into the Atlantic, and the other shuttle blew up coming down over the U.S. It was all scattered all over Texas.
Was it over the U.S.? I thought it was Australia.
Oh yeah, it was all over. No, they were finding pieces in Texas.
Jeez.
Yeah, and one kid had found a helmet with nothing in it, but he found a shoe with a foot in it.
Oh yuck!
Which actually NASA was quite glad because they could identify who it was, and they found all kind of shit from that thing. But it didn't go in the water.
Who was in it? I mean,
it's just. Oh no, people! That was one of those explosions. Both explosions could have been prevented, and that's just not following through. What are you talking about? No, they could have fixed that scale in space. Oh yes, they could have. That was bullshit. So you really think that the shuttle don't have a suit on it? It was worse than that.
They can do EVs.
It was worse than that.
Jetpacks. They can float around and fly up there. Yeah.
But it was worse than that, people. The space station was up there. They could have docked with the space station and fixed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They did a flyby to the space station a couple times, letting people see, but you can't tell, man. They needed to get out and park that thing and walk that whole thing and just push on the tiles to see if they would lose.
Well, also they consistently lost tiles on the way down anyway and still didn't explode. But this one had pieces that were missing. And that's why it exploded. It heated up the inside like a tea kettle, and it exploded.
It just burned a hole through the shuttle itself.
Boom.
Well, yeah, people. If there's nothing protected, it just blows a hole there. Well, because
there's still unburnt fuel on board. They're using fuel to pilot the thing. So yeah, I mean they're flying a bomb on the way up and down.
It's a dangerous thing, and the one blew up because a chunk of ice hit something. And the other one blew up.
That's the one because of a failure in the
the one that crashed over Texas. They said was over a chunk.
One of those developed a leak, and you can see it in the video. That's the really good camera. They zoom in on it. You can see flames shoot out of it.
Yeah, that was challenging. Then you seen how it split, and for a while, the shuttle now stayed intact, even though it was engulfed in flames. It stayed intact for a little while, and then it was gone. And then the one that crashed over Texas, they said that was because some ice damaged the tile set going as it was going.
The two jettisonable rockets.
So people, it's what you do. NASA could have prevented both of those. They chose not to.
Yeah, and the funny thing, well, not funny, but the ironic thing about that is one of those rocket boosters, I think, was recovered by Russia, and then a couple years later, they have their own shuttle that doesn't look like ours, but really, really does.
Yeah, it looks like ours. People. That shuttle looked so much like ours, it wasn't even funny. It even had the same cap cone. Honestly, James, the first time I seen it, I thought we gave him one.
Yeah, it looks identical. It's a little sharper on the nose, but it has a big fat orange booster in the middle that the rocket sits or that the ship sits on, and then the two jettisonable rockets in white on the side. And they might even put a third and fourth one on there, but it was nearly identical.
It's still there. Y'all can find pictures of this. It's still on the internet.
Look it up.
Oh yeah, and they got it somewhere. Last time I seen the picture, it was covered in dust and debris, but it was still there.
One of ours is collecting dust in the museum in D.C.
No, that's Soyuz. They use to go to space. Yeah, they use a Soyuz capsule. And they use
Soyuz was their space station, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, but that was
Mir. That was Mir.
Yeah, it was Mir. No, this is the rocket set that brings.
Yeah, the rockets are called Soyuz. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so they've been using this for a long time. These things work great. I don't think they're reusing the capsules now.
Probably no. I think they're doing the same thing we did. Is too much disposable stuff. Yeah. Only one
Besides,
piece back.
until recent times, America was paying for them capsules anyway.
Yeah, I mean, think about the Apollo missions. You got this 3-stage rocket that goes up. That's 3 separate pieces that burst off, and then the command capsule bops off, and then they leave most of that equipment on the moon, and just the lunar module, the command module, flies back, and that's it. One little machine piece comes back. That's it, out of billions of dollars of stuff.
Yeah, a piece about the size of your Volkswagen comes back, and it was. I've actually been in one. I got in trouble for this. I was 12 or 14, and we were in Cape Canaveral, and they got parts of pieces of, they got lunar landers and all sorts of stuff in there. But they had one of the original capsule pieces, and I didn't realize it. I stuck my head in there and jumped in the son of a bitch, and was just sitting back in a chair chilling. I still remember. I think my dad wanted to kill me. It's and then the guy came out. He was even when he mean. He said, "Get out of here." He said, there could be space cooties on here, dude. You could be in big trouble. I still remember that. Yes, he did tell me space cooties, people. What can I tell you? But it was interesting. And they're small. And I was just a little kid back then. It was still just teensy weensy, man. 3 guys crammed up in that bitch. I don't know. Well, no, when it's connected to the other part, they had more move around because there was a hatch between them. And you could go in. Well, you forgot we had the lander on board. That's what he was just talking about, when the lander comes back. So we leave half the lander on the moon, and a piece of the lander goes back and docks with the command module, and then we just leave it in space. Well, we keep it on for a little while for fuel and stuff, and then we kick it off and haul ass back to Earth. I didn't design it. It amazes me it took all of that shit to get that little bitty piece of crap to the moon. What are you talking about? I know we can talk disclosure all day, but the problem is I haven't seen anything that these guys said that's going to push disclosure. So what? The Crush guy is going to go behind doors and he's going to go do interviews and say, "Oh, I said all this stuff that's going to change the world." Of course, nothing's going to happen. Well, nothing's happened yet. Oh, he does kind of look like Stephen Greer. I know. Stephen Greer from the lip down looks like Thanos.
Like Thanos?
Yeah, he's got these big weird teeth. He's like, I don't know. You have to see the video. He looked like Thanos from the face down, from the nose down. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. You give up a great career as a surgeon in New York hospital to chase UFOs. Well, how are you making a living?
Yeah, but did he give it up, or was he forced out? I don't know that.
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. But still, these days he makes his living off of what? Ufology.
Yeah, and what does he charge per lecture? $5,000, $10,000, whatever.
Yeah. Plus, he charges. He does these retreats where he brings you out to a place where you have a spiritual connection with ET. I think that it used to be $3,600, but it's inflation now, so they probably went up.
$7,000.
Yeah. Well, UFOs can be playful, and they can respond to contactees. Yeah. Sometimes they'll move for them and make shapes for them and all kind of fun stuff. But, one of the reasons, and so you see, Crush has never seen a UFO. These 2 Navy guys have, but Crush hasn't. And you want to know why, right? Because only contactees see UFOs. You don't have to take my word for it. I can prove it. It's not even hard to prove. So here's a couple of cases for you. You ever heard of Arizona? It's a little place in Phoenix, in Arizona called Phoenix. Y'all ever heard of that? You ever heard of the Phoenix Lights? It was up for hours and hours. And a bunch of people seen it. I even know a few people who saw it. I've met a few of them. And then there's Lynn Kitai, who also was a doctor who's seen it. And see, I can see why it changed Lynn Kitai's life, because she experienced it. Greer did.
It didn't just go over the whole of Phoenix. It finally, I think the last time it was observed was going over Albuquerque.
Yeah, so it went.
That's a long flight and really slow. I mean, like less than 25 miles an hour or something like that.
It was slow for a while. And of course, the military said it was flare. It was a flare thing over.
Yeah. Flares don't go that way. Flares go this way.
This is the real question. Alexa, How many people live in Phoenix?
According to the
6 million?
2020 census, the population of Phoenix is 1.61 million people.
Okay, 1.5 million people live in there. Okay, so that's just in the city. Now, that's not the suburbs. Also, it's probably closer to 3 or 4 million. But
Yeah.
so why did only a handful of people see this thing? It was on the news. And only
It wasn't just a handful. There were hundreds of reports. I mean,
yeah, no, that's a handful out of 2 or 3 million. The most reports we can find anywhere is around 1,500 out of a population of 3 million. And it's worse than that because the news had actually heard about it and was running the story on the news while the damn thing was doing it. And it's still, people were going outside and not seeing it. So that's one of the things that made it hard. A lot of people went looking for it and couldn't find it, but a lot of people were seeing it and went no problem. Well, we figured that the abduction population on the planet is around 15%, and that's about the amount of people in Arizona who've seen it was about 15%. Same thing in the Mexico City sighting. You got 22 million people there. Close to 1 million people reported saying they saw a UFO, but why didn't the other 21 million people see it? And that's another one where Jaime Maussan was at, and there were other people there. The mayor of the town was there. The police chief was there. The fire chief was there. They were all outside filming this. There was Padres out on the rooftops filming this. And there was very little video that came through.
They have over 70 different cell phone videos and videos from that. Yeah, that's well documented.
Yes. And then again, though, 22 million people, only 1 million seen it. Why didn't the other 21 million people see it?
Oh, they could be asleep. They could be not interested.
This was daytime, and there was a lot of hype, and a lot of people heard about it. And again, just like the Phoenix sighting, bunches of people went outside to see it, but couldn't see it. One lady freaked out because, and I think this is where Signs got this from, she freaked out because she was standing out there and a flock of birds flew over and just fell out the sky. Well, they hit something in the sky, but she couldn't see it. So what happens is I think people who have been taken become sensitive to them. That's why they can see them. That's why they can call them.
Well, there may also be some cloaking technology involved where they can bend light around the object so that no one can see it.
They can cloak, but that's still why can some people see it and some people can't. And it's only a small section of people that can see a UFO. I mean, when you look at the reports and the amount of people who have seen UFOs worldwide, and you look at the population, it's way small. And even though there's been huge sightings, yeah, but that's the thing. There's been mass sightings, but even in a mass sighting, it doesn't. Battle of Los Angeles, 1942.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, 4.4 million people at the time. Less than 5,000 people even reported. Even with gunfire, less than 5,000 people reported seeing it. I mean, they're blowing shit up out there. That's enough to get anybody outside, but nobody was seeing the craft. And I don't think you can actually see the craft unless you've been in one.
There's one good picture where there's something in the spotlights, but it's so grainy you can't really tell what's up there.
What was that, Gene? No, that's just a lot of stuff out there. And what was that, Neil? Shit, I loved it, hated. Well, but people ask me all the time how I got into the field. And I don't always tell the truth, but the reason I got into the field is I was a debunker. Oh yeah, I was hardcore debunker. I was, how did people refer to me as the D word? Because I was. And I was really good debunker too, man, look. But every now and then I'd run across a case that I couldn't debunk. And then out of the blue, people who had contacts just started talking to me. No, I'm shitting. I'm in the Navy. People started telling me. And I have never met a Navy pilot that has not seen a UFO. Today, I'm listening to here, and they're saying, 95% don't say that's bullshit. I have never talked to a Navy pilot who hasn't seen a UFO. And worse than that, he said there was no program for them to report. That's another load of crap. It's actually required for them to report if they see a UFO to the commanding deck officer on deck. Then he decides whether it needs to be brought up to the captain, and then they decide if it becomes an official report or not worry about it report. Yes, people on station.
Always to not worry about, yeah.
Oh, yes, and more than one pilot I knew reported seeing something. Oh yeah. Because when it's more fun for the UFOs anyway with the Navy. They're usually way out in the ocean somewhere, the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean. Nobody's around. They can all get out there and play around, and these things can come out and play with them. No, really. Think about it. there's nothing to see them out there except for satellites. The Russians might be watching from a satellite, but nobody else is watching them. It's a great place for UFOs.
That far out in the ocean, it takes them a while to get in touch with SyncPack or SyncLand. So, to get orders. What do we do? There's these things flying around. And then 8 minutes later, they get a response, and then it's too late. They're gone.
What's that, Janine? Oh, we only got about 8 or 9 minutes late because we were running late. Actually, the Outer Realm is coming on right now. Yeah, I'll show y'all. Let me show y'all. Look. The Outer Realm. Ooh, sorry, that's cheesy. Damn, now ain't no light here. All right, sorry, guys. I ain't got a light if you don't know what happened all of a sudden. I guess it got dark outside.
Yeah, the sun goes down, eventually.
Well, there's so much of the information out there. There's so much stuff to look at. There's so much stuff to try to learn about. There's so much stuff to try to understand. It just makes it tough.
And there's a lot of the information is so conflict. There's so many conflicts within the information. Like I said, over the years I've looked at it. The information says the alien grays are good, the alien grays are bad, and same with the reptilians and the Lyrans and the Pleiadians and you name it, whatever group it is. It seems that they have some good and bad halves to them, and which one is the worst one we're going to get? Are we going to have the bad guys take control? And it's up in the air.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see how this is all going to play out. All these, Chris, I'm not so much worried about that. I mean, unless ET comes down and blows up the planet tomorrow, I'm not really worried about it. And if they blow up the planet, I'm not really worried about it anyway because we'll be freaking dead.
Yeah, we'll be gone. Yeah, no more bills.
Thank you, Holly. No, I'm not wearing a tie tonight. No, because it's hot. Yes, it's hot down here. Yeah, we've been 100-degree days every day now for about a week. It makes it feel like somewhere around 112, 114. Because we were up near the 90s. But we're not having 100% humidity or it would be raining, which is really weird for us not to be raining in July and August. Usually every July and August it rains every afternoon like a biatch. I mean, seriously.
Same in Savannah. Like you can set your watch to the afternoon thunderstorm.
Yeah, around 2 or 3 o'clock it would just rain its ass off, which just made it worse. Because 4 or 5 it was like a sauna outside. Oh yeah, you'd walk out after a good thunderstorm. Everything was steaming.
It's a Swedish sauna. If you're going to sauna, you put the water on the rocks. It steams up, makes it warmer. Same principle.
Oh yeah, same thing. Everything is steaming. Yes. You walk out your house, your glasses just fog. Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Oh yeah. Drive your car with the AC on, you get out, and you can't see as soon as you get out.
Well, Steph, I don't have any favorite ufologists. That's what you're asking me. And as far as what's going on right now, like I said, I'm fine with the 2 Navy guys. The Charis guy worries me for some reason. There's something about him. I always trust my instincts because they're rarely wrong. And there's just something about this guy that just smells. And maybe it is because he was. Maybe it's because he was, foreign agent. I mean, he was an agent. I don't know. It could be what it is. Well, anybody in the line of work he was in, you just can't trust anything that comes out their mouths. Well, so a couple of things that were going on. So he said a couple of things that I think are half truths. One, he said he doesn't make any money off of the interviews. Okay, so this. I've been interviewed by NBC and CBS and ABC, and they pay you. Matter of fact, they have to pay you. So first thing they ask you for is your tax information, and you can either take the check there or they'll send you the check, but they're going to pay you. Maybe if your first time you might only get scale, which I think is like $800 an hour or something. But
it doesn't suck, but yeah, they have to pay if you're going to be on for. It's like the local news, they don't pay you, but if you're on like an interview news program, like you're on for a segment, you're getting paid.
Well, because it's cable news, and cable news is going to use it, so they have to. Yeah, well, he's right. Actually, if you're on national news, if you're on local news or national news, you're probably not going to get paid. National news may pay, but cable news has to pay.
Not for an on-the-street interview, but if they take you into the studio for a prolonged segment, yeah, they will have to pay.
Yeah. Well, no, cable news is cable news, people. It's
independent.
Cable.
It's a little different.
It's just so cable news is not considered news. It's considered opinion
cable.
News.
You're talking about cable access channels?
I'm talking about MSNBC, ABC, and CBS.
Oh, okay.
If they're on cable, they're not real news. So there's a big difference between NBC and MSNBC. NBC does its national news, and it has to adhere to U.S. standards for news. MSNBC does not. Technically, that is just entertainment.
And
sorry, guys,
business news as well. So
it is, and most companies now, like Roku and some of these other big companies now, when they put it on there in their news section, it doesn't say news section anymore. It says opinion news, because that's what it is. I mean, NBC,
and like
MSNBC
with Dive and the Onion, their entertainment news. None of it's usually true on those kind of things.
You want hard news, you're going to have to go to the national news. That's about as hard as it gets anymore, and even that's still tainted somewhat, but it's not as bad. So you're not going to hear ABC, NBC, and them on the national news really hate on Trump like they do on the cable news.
CNN, Headline, Fox.
Yeah. What do you mean who's going to be president? I don't know. It weirds me out. I seen a set of polls today that were sent to me for the station, and Trump has been gaining steadily every time
he's going to get back in there. Yeah.
So right now, as far as the primary goes, he's the closest one to him is DeSantis, and he's 30 points ahead of DeSantis. Right now, him and Biden are running neck and neck. Depending on which poll you look at, he's 3 points ahead or 3 points behind. Of course, the margin of error is 3 points. So
usually 3 to 4 points.
They're running neck and neck. Now Trump's getting in more trouble, but now Biden is too. So now we got the drug stuff coming out. We know that Biden's now talked to oligarchs and stuff. We know he talked to Burisma people. There's been a lot of stuff that's come out since Hunter Biden's friend, got sentenced to jail. He's been talking a lot, and I'm telling you guys, there's some shit going on here. Well, look at it like this: anytime anybody goes against Joe and him, they end up in jail. So this guy came out as a witness and ended up in jail. There's 2 other ones that came out under the witness program and ended up in jail. The DOJ, the Biden DOJ is beyond corrupt. He's beyond corrupt. I would just like to polygraph voice stress him one day just for general principle.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna start watching him on a regular basis so I can get a stress line on him. His birthday, holidays, friends, stuff he's telling me.
I don't know if you get stress out of that man. He doesn't seem to stress about anything.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. I guarantee he's got blood vessels popping in his eyes. He's the reason he's the way he is because he's probably crapping himself because he's scared Biden.
He just seems so oblivious that it doesn't seem that there's any stress affecting the man.
Well, so everybody's asking the same question. Why hasn't the DOJ arrested Biden? Once we found out that he blackmailed a guy in a foreign country to fire someone to get $1 billion, no, you go to jail for that in the United States. I'm sorry. And Obama came out and said, this is how bad it is. Obama came out and said he knew nothing about it. He said it was never brought to his attention whatsoever because he would have had to do something about it himself. That's his words.
But that doesn't mean it's true. Just because he said it doesn't make it so.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the other problem. So anyway, we now have a sitting president who admittedly blackmailed somebody to get them to do a favor for him. What do you mean, Jack? No, Jack. Let me explain what actually went on here. So, Obama gave the Ukraine $1 billion for whatever $1 billion reason he gave it to him for. Well, come to find out a little while later that Joe Biden's son, Hunter, was being investigated for being attached to Burisma. So the guy was investigating him. So a couple of months after that, while this guy's investigating him, Biden comes to the Ukraine and says, okay, you're not getting $1 billion unless this guy's fired before I leave. He said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the guy's not fired, you're not getting $1 billion. And the guy told him, well, Obama said, he said, we'll call Obama and see what happens. He said, so right then and there, he even put Obama into this when he said that. And then, of course, before he left, this guy was fired. Wow. So he coerced somebody with money. I mean, dude, you go to jail for the United States for that. So I want to know why the Democrats aren't all up in arms. Why they're not? Because now they can't deny it. Now See, they tried to deny it, but now it's coming out in his own voice. There ain't no denying it anymore. So everybody's doing the same thing. Why is it? So the Republicans are going to impeach him over it, and so he's going to get hurt going in to the election. And I just don't know. This is what's so funny to me. We may end up either president we may end up with may definitely be under scrutiny because you can't indict a sitting president. So if Trump wins and makes it to office before they can prosecute him, there's nothing they can do to him. And by the time he gets out of office, statute of limitations will be gone. Or he can pardon himself. Either way,
yeah,
they're screwed. It's I don't know, and I don't think. And if he does a good job, the country's not going to put up with somebody going after him. It's so it seems like for the liberals, every time they attack Trump, it bites them in the ass. Even with Russia, remember Russia, which of course we found out all was a lie. And the more they talked about it, the higher Trump's going up. Now it's doing it again. I would think at this point you would have learned your lesson and figured a different way to do this. Yeah. But they got to do something because. So first they've got the Trump stuff, and the DOJ's case came out with 4 indictments for Trump for Jan 6, which everybody's like, wait, let me see. You're the Department of Justice for Biden, and you're going to try to impeach a sitting president. Indict a former president. First off, everybody, including a lot of Democrats, said that is just not a good idea. That's just a bad idea.
But I think it's also a backfire, kind of, sort of. If you look at it, everyone hated Trump during his campaign, even though they weren't paying $5 for a gallon of gas. And then when he gets out, they all got mad at him for trying to reverse the decision that he lost the election. Well, so what? Boo-hoo. He's a sore loser. That's fine. But
yeah, like he's the only president that was a sore loser.
Yeah, he's not. So I mean, so what? He made a big stinky, and now you're trying to indict him over that? I mean, that's just all they've done is put him back in the limelight. They've paid for his presidential campaign advertising by putting him in the news every day for this stupid indictment.
And then there's another problem because America's a little upset now because we had 2 years of BLM ranting and raving under Obama and 2 years under Trump, and nobody went to jail. I mean, people died. I think there was 100 rapes, 14 deaths, something like $18 billion worth of damage. So they go to the White House.
Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so they go to the White House, kicking the door. Nobody gets killed except the guy that had the heart attack, and that wasn't on them. So remember in the beginning, they were saying they killed all these people. Jan 6 didn't kill anybody. Come to find out. And then we found out for sure, at least 4 of the people encouraging were liberals from a different group. But yet somehow, and they got the one guy, they got him on video, but somehow he's not being prosecuted.
Yeah, the guy with the horn cap.
Stinks. Yeah, just stinks. And so because Congress got a little scared, people are going to go to jail now. But while they were ranting and scaring everybody in the country, well, that's fine. Not only was it fine, the Democrats were bailing them out of jail. So I don't know why America puts up with what it puts up with. Look, I got a lot of friends that are liberal, and I look at them sometimes and say, dude, come on. I know the Republicans are bad, but look, not like this. This is pathetic. I mean, y'all have gotten to be the most disrespected party on the planet, not just in the country. And you can say, and they think if you say it enough times, it makes it right, but it doesn't. And America's just not looking, no one, when you poll most Americans, they think the Jan 6 is bullshit. Like 80%. Even some liberals think it's bullshit.
I think it's the same as COVID. There's nothing to it. There's nothing there. They kept saying that.
First off,
the pandemic. I don't see that. It didn't kill as many people as the Spanish flu. And how many people died during the January 6th? Allegedly, the one ex-military girl who was shot trying to break through the doors. That's one versus how many were killed under Black Lives Matters banners. That's the two don't tip the scale together. One's way worse than the other.
Yeah, and the person who got killed was shot by a cop.
By was it a DC cop or I think it was. It had to be. I can't remember if it was
security or DC cop, but they shot her.
Yeah.
See, and the media for 3 weeks said no, she shot him because we found out that was a lie.
It was not a case of Han Solo shooting first. She was shot at first, not the other way around.
And then no, the cop you're talking about, the other person you're talking about had a heart attack. Yeah, nobody killed him. And then one of the other break-ins got his head bashed in with a fire extinguisher by a cop.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, wait, what went down here? So we're not going to ever get the truth because the liberals. Do you think that liberals are going to ever put out both sides of the story? No. And then they got a liberal judge to prosecute these people so they could get major. The whole thing is a fraud. And if it's not bipartisan, it shouldn't be allowed.
It's not bipartisan. I don't believe it. It definitely sounds democratic, and it was all in an attempt to smear. It's a mud smearing campaign for Trump. That's all they're trying to do is put more mud on the guy's face.
The only bipartisan they had on there was what's her name? What's his name's daughter, and she lost the election. So she's gone.
Cheney's daughter.
Yeah, Darth Cheney's daughter was on there. Obviously, she doesn't come from him. Because he's Darth Cheney, and I can't see him not backing Trump. I just don't get that. That don't even make any sense. That is Darth Cheney. That's who Darth Cheney was when he was Reagan. Was Trump? Shit, everybody's scared of Darth Cheney. That's what.
Yeah. What was his famous line? He's like, "I'm in charge here," or something like that during the Reagan administration.
Bush.
I don't know.
Bush, yeah, but still, he was. But we call him Darth Cheney. I mean, right in the middle of administration, he goes and gets his heart ripped out, gets a transplant, comes back to work.
It was a pig heart, wasn't it?
I think it was. And he's still alive.
Human heart transplanted into the man. And
the man's still alive even today.
Yeah, and he shot one of his friends in the face.
Yeah,
with a shotgun.
Man, look, you don't.
That's not fake. That actually happened.
Yes, you don't mess with Darth Cheney. Yes, I thought of Deliverance when I heard that. Like he had a guy running around like a pig on the ground, shot him.
It was allegedly during a cleaning accident, but whatever. The gun went off in his friend's face.
Yes. He was probably sitting there, guys probably arguing. He said, "You're going to keep arguing?" He said, "Yeah." He said,
"Yep."
Oh, guess what you did? And actually, he didn't even die, did he?
He didn't die. No, he's still. I
remember the guy took up for him. Yeah, no, it was crazy. Oh, no, it was crazy, people. No, but we got to go because the girls are on, as y'all can see. They have Bill Bean with them on tonight, Miss Amelia and Miss Michelle DeRoche. And Michelle looks a little antsy tonight.
That's because we're eating into our time.
She might be. She's probably cussing me. She's probably sending me psychic message. "You bastard, get out of my airtime.
Get off the air, Joe."
But she's on the radio side. This like Roku and all takes over because that's why she's on Roku. We get kicked out of it, so they can't see us no more. We're just here. And see, people, y'all didn't know Bill Bean. Look, let me show you if we get off here. There's Bill Bean. There he is.
All right.
And y'all like it up here. What I'm doing is up here, but no, we'll put a big screen in the back so we don't have to do this. Or maybe we'll use something else. But we got to go, guys and girls, because I got to go eat, and then I still got to put archives up and get ready.
Yeah, I got a Salisbury steak waiting on me downstairs.
Yes, Jay, thanks for coming, hanging out, guys and girls.
Yeah, no problem.
Keep disclosure going. I mean, disclosure is a good thing. Just pay attention to what the witnesses are saying, and don't get snowed in by organizations like MUFON who are just going to follow whatever the government tells them.
And don't get your hopes up because I don't think they're going to reveal everything because like we said earlier in the show, it's so compartmentalized. There's so many different departments that have this bit and that bit. We may not get the whole story ever. You never know. We may get part of it here and there over the decades, but I'm not that optimistic.
Me either. Neil, thanks for coming hanging out with us. Jenny and the Grain over there and Messenger, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Any moans, groans, bitches, or complaints, write to Michelle DeRoche. She loves y'all's complaints. She does. She loves y'all's compliments too, but complaints are good, Say, "Hey, Michelle, I didn't like your alien." Anyway, good night, everybody. We'll see y'all Friday night. Stay out of trouble.